Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Goodfirms Leaders Roundtable podcast. I'm your host Suhana Bhattacharya, and this is your one stop destination to know about various interesting topics related to the IT industry. For this episode, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce today's guest of our podcast. He has had that entrepreneur bug inside him because he embraced entrepreneurship just at the beginning of his career. Starting from being a senior front end engineer, he's now the CTO of his company GeekyAnts. I'm talking about Saurabh Sahu. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for joining us today. Anything that you'd like to tell our audience regarding your company GeekyAnts?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me here and inviting me to this podcast. I am Saurabh. I am one of the co-founders at GeekyAnts and I am heading the engineering team here. And a bit of background about GeekyAnts. We are a development company. We develop mobile and web application, heavily rely onto the JavaScript ecosystem with our web tech stack being React.js. A lot of our projects are built onto Next.js and backend on the Node.js side. We develop mobile application on React Native and Flutter. That's a bit of overview, Suhana.
Thank you so much. And for today's podcast episode, we are talking about how to build UX driven full stack web and mobile application in 2023. So before going into the how, we'd like to first talk about the numbers because they are really important. Because the mobile app market has gone a significant change and the demand curve for emerging technologies are rising drastically. So what are the numbers saying about the demand for full stack applications? Are they in demand? And if yes, should new companies offer that as a service for their clients?
Yes, these days, every product idea needs a mobile application as well. Like 65 to 70% of the products that we build involve mobile application and full stack development, what we do. Companies need to have full stack development expertise to ease the pain of the clients. This eliminates the need to have different stakeholders for front end, back end, and infrastructure management. We can have one stop solution through a company, which is very critical, what I feel these days.
True. And 65 to 70% of products are built upon the mobile application development. That's a huge number. So moving forward, I'd like to ask you what is actually full stack development? And can you please describe the tech stack that is used in web and mobile application development?
Sure. Full stack development is the term which is used to describe working on both the front end and the back end of a mobile or a web application. It describes an end-to-end workflow, like even the users, what they see, and the computation which happens on the back end, everything involves is called full stack development. Talking about the tech stack that we use for web apps are React.js, Next.js, on the CSS side, Tailwind CSS and Native Base, our own product. And the tech stack being used for mobile application, what we use at GeekyAnts is React Native and Flutter. For the backend, we use Node.js, GraphQL APIs, we use the Postgres database, and these days we are using Hasura for building the GraphQL APIs.
While working on UX for any application, it is very important to conduct UX research and identify the loopholes or challenges that designers can address in their next work. So how can designers do effective UX research and what are the steps to conduct an effective UX research process?
UX research is a very crucial step in the design phase. It helps to understand the needs and behaviors of users, identify their problems, and help us to find the best possible solution around them. To conduct effective UX research, we follow these steps. The first one is define the research goal. In that, we need to identify what you want to learn from research and why it is important. This will help to guide the research process and ensure that you're collecting the right data. Talking about the second step, we need to identify your target audience. We need to determine who you want to study and what you want to learn about them. The research method changes based on the target audience. The third step is choosing the right research methods. Based on the research goals and target audience, we need to select the most appropriate research method. We can do surveys, interviews, usability testing, and focus on the groups. For example, we cannot apply the same surveys and interview to the children group, and we cannot use the same survey for an elder people group. We have to plan the activities based on the selected group. That's a very important step. And then comes the conducting the research step. We need to use research methods to collect data from the participants. We need to be very sure to ask open-ended questions and actively listen to the participants' feedbacks. Then comes analyzing all these data, which is also very important. Based on that, we can have the insights and we can take the designing decisions. After that comes the documenting these findings so that we can refer to it. And the last step is to apply all these findings to the actual designs. We need to use the insights and recommendation from the research to and guide the decisions. So these are the basically steps that are involved.
Okay. So these are very good points that you've mentioned in a chronological order, because I believe that someone who is experienced in UX design, they might already know this process, but someone who is listening to us or who are just starting out in the industry, they could really use this pattern to do a better research for their next project.
Yes.
A very famous quote by a designer called Frank Chimero. He said that people ignore design that ignores people. And this quote highlights the importance of inclusivity in design applications. So, how can UX designers handle accessibility and inclusive design considerations?
Yep. The more we understand our users, it would be better. So the steps toward handling the accessibilities are to take the time to learn about the different user groups. It includes people with disabilities and with different cultures, different technological backgrounds. We need to stay up to date with the latest accessibility guidelines and standards. There is a standard named WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. So this gives a very good guidelines and standard for which we can follow. The second point, we need to ensure that our design process includes input from diverse range of users, including those with disabilities and different culture background. This will help to ensure that the designs are inclusive and that meet a wide range of users. And the third point would be accessibility consideration cannot come at a later stage. This is a very important point. It needs to be from the starting research phase of the design. This will ensure we won't miss the required information gathering during our research phase. And the last one is we need to continuously evaluate the designs and iterate based on the feedback that we receive from the users. Stay up to date with the latest accessibility guidance and the standards that I mentioned, and we need to make such changes, incorporate reiterating every time.
To be frank, my favorite point that you just mentioned is that accessibility consideration should not come at a later stage. I think that is one of the very key points to highlight upon, because it should not be a thing that we miss out in the beginning and then consider at the end, right?
Yes, that's a very important point. Good that you picked it up.
Yeah. So a full stack developer obviously must know front end and back end technologies. And to work on the front end is to have an in-depth knowledge of appealing visual designs and utilities. So for designers and developers who have little experience, how can they build their journey around UI UX?
For designers and developers with very little experience in both areas, the knowledge of UI and UX can help them visualize and generate better solution. I can suggest these things for them to get the in-depth knowledge about the UI UX. First one would be to get involved in the design process from the beginning. Like the design process includes many brainstorming sessions, right? Initially. So participating into such brainstorming sessions can give us a very better understanding of the entire design journey, and you can put your feedbacks and you can get a good understanding of the things. And I would suggest is to attend lot of conferences which happens across the globe. Like there are many online conferences and workshops happening which will definitely give a lot of opportunity, learn from the experts, network with the professional, and see actual real examples of what's happening in the world. And there are a lot of design challenges as well happening. You can participate. There are such design challenges hosted by Dribbles or UX design challenges. This can help designers and developers to practice and improve their skills. And last one I would suggest is to create lot of personal projects. They can, building from their personal project, they can enhance their knowledge and skills by creating such projects. Experimenting is very important with different design approaches. And lastly, get the feedback from the community that you can join, and this would help. These are the some of the points that I can gather.
Right. Moving forward, what are some of the challenges that you personally have faced when you first started out for full stack web and mobile app development?
Yes, there are many challenges when you start a full stack development. One of them I would say is staying up to date with the latest technologies, because there would be a lot of technologies that would be offering lot of enhancements what has been done in the past in the old school way. There is always new things coming up, so you need to be staying up to date with the latest things that are going around. For example, we adopted React Native in its very early days, and we saw that there was no UI library in React Native. So we contributed as well to the developer community using native base. That is one of the projects. So mastering multiple technologies can definitely be hard. Developers are expected to know the broader understanding of different programming language. So with full stack development, I would say it can get challenging to debug a lot of issues. That's where the QA testing setup can come into the picture of a company.
Right. And thank you so much that you also mentioned QA testing there, because we'll be going on to that question as well. But before we can jump on QA testing, I would like to know that within a full stack web and mobile app, there is a lot going on. There are constant API communications going on from the front end to the back end. In this, isn't app scalability issue for developers to handle increasing traffic? How will the application be scaled in such scenarios?
Yes, as the request and users increase, the application needs to scale and process more data and respond promptly without compromising the performance. That's where the app scalability is a very important concern. There are different strategies for that. The first one I would say is vertical scaling. This involves upgrading the resources, for example, CPU, memory, and storage for existing servers to handle more traffic. The second one I can say is called horizontal scaling. This involves adding more servers to existing infrastructure to handle more traffic. And the third one I would suggest is called the load balancing. This process involves distributing the traffic across multiple servers to ensure that no single server is overloaded, so that your app can scale very easily. And the fourth one is also very important, which is called the caching. This involves storing frequent access data in a cache to reduce number of requests going to the backend servers. This can improve performance and reduce lot of load on the servers. And last one I would like to add is called the CDNs, which is the content delivery network. This involves caching content at multiple locations worldwide to reduce the latency of delivering content to the users. This can improve the user experience and reduce the load on the server. Also, these days, edge computing is very on the rise, which involves processing data closer to where it is generated. So if we focus on these points, I am very sure like app scalability can be achieved.
Right, right. Thank you so much for sharing these points, because as a application grows, scalability is one of the pressing concerns business owners or developers can have. And points like vertical scaling, then load balancing, then caching, all of these can help minimize that load and minimize profitability. Now, you did touch upon QA testing, and it is an important part of the development life cycle. So, what are the testing strategies of the full stack web and mobile apps, and what tools and techniques do you recommend to be used for testing?
Correct. Yes, testing is a big part of entire full stack development. So for that, there are different frameworks for doing the automation testing. There can be a manual testing. We do manual and automation testing as well. Like you can use Selenium and Appium, the frameworks from Java side. There are Firebase test labs is that we heavily use, which runs the app crawlers, and it makes sure that all the screens on the mobile application on web application can be accessed and there are no links broken, which can notify the users. We also do the load and performance testing. There's a k6.io, which what we use for test the performance and put a lot of load on the web or mobile application to understand how it is managing the load when you don't have that number of users, which you can priorly test. And there are also, for automation, you can use Jest, Cypress, and Playwright is something that what we use for setting up our own automation testing side.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Moving forward, in the IT industry, full stack development is a competitive market with many players doing their best to showcase their skills and accelerate their business growth. So in this scenario, we would like to know that how has Goodfirms helped GeekyAnts gain trust from prospective clients globally?
Goodfirms has definitely helped us to reach to our clients and educate them about our capabilities. Our profile has also been curated well on Goodfirms to reach the audience and help them evaluate us well. We were also selected as one of the top development companies by Goodfirms recently. So this way, Goodfirms has helped us a lot.
Congratulations that GeekyAnts was selected as one of the top development companies by Goodfirms. So thank you so much, Saurabh, for sharing insight on full stack web and mobile applications. We really wanted to cover this. So thank you so much, Saurabh, for giving us your time.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here.